saw the skyline of the city, and then over that wall on the other side there, I could see these little rolling hills. And this is where they were all looking towards. And I could see something moving across these hills, and it looked just like a huge ball of light. It just almost looked like the sun had sat down on the earth, the sun in heaven, and was just moving across these hills. I could see this coming, and I kept watching that, and it was going very slowly. And I thought, that seems, strange, almost like it's somebody. So I'm watching this, and then as it keeps coming closer and closer, and it took a while, and finally, as I saw him coming closer, I could see that this was in fact a person inside this light, and this is just all the light beaming off of him. And I knew instantly when I could see there's a person in there, I said, oh, I know who that is. That's Jesus Christ. So I could see him coming. I knew, and you just feel all this beautiful, this love and glory and all this brilliance off of him. So Abraham's telling me, he says, so go up to meet him. Go up, you have an appointment. So I started walking. Actually, you don't walk, you just move by thought. You're just floating, gliding. So I'm going up this hill to meet him, and I became weak. It's like I couldn't move any further. I could go so far, and the closer I got to him, I couldn't go any further. And I realized now I was not spiritually strong enough. I was more or less a babe in God, you would say. I had been born again as a child, but I had not been living for him. I was doing my own thing at 17, and so when I came back, I thought, I can't go any further. And then Abraham's there, and he's telling me, he said, come over here. He said, let's come over here. I want to show you the fruit trees. Well, I go over there, and along both sides of the river are fruit trees. Well, it talks about this in the Bible. The trees of life for healing are on both sides of the river. Well, so I go over there, and they look just like regular shrubs, and there's fruit on there. He says, see the fruit? And I said, yes. And he says, I want you to, you can eat it. Take one off and eat it. And they look just kind of like a cross between a kind of a copper color, a cross between a peach and an apple. So I just reached to grab it, and I think that it's just because of the new feel of doing something. I'm spirit, and this is spirit. Everything is made of spiritual matter. So it was just such an easy, it's like I felt like I dropped. I just turned loose, or I dropped it, and I thought, it fell. It's like it's floating, and then it just disintegrated and evaporated. And he knew my thoughts. Abraham, he said, don't worry, you can't mess anything up here. Everything's perfect. Don't worry. And I looked, and there was a new one on there instantly in its place. So that was just, that I remembered was outstanding. So he said, go ahead, now take the fruit and eat it. So I picked it off, and I put it in my mouth. And even beyond a taste, the taste alone was just like this most juicy, most satisfying, quenching thing that you could put in your mouth and eat. But beyond that, I could feel it permeate my whole being. I could feel strength, a little strength and peace of God, just like more of God came into me. And so it's just an explosion, almost like an explosion went off inside. And he said, wow. And he said, now you can go, you can make the rest of the way to meet him. So I went on over there, and I was able then to walk on up the hill. And I say walk, it really wasn't walking, but I just moved up the hill. And I stood right there in front of him. And that in itself was, of course, the most outstanding thing of being in heaven. Naturally, he is just the glory, such peace, such love, like you've never felt before, of course, beyond what we think of love. And such kindness, I could just feel I was just so drawn to him like a magnet. Even though I'm feeling so vulnerable, a little bit exposed, like, I don't know if I'm feeling almost like a little bit unworthy, but yet at the same time, his love is just overwhelming, all that. And he just wipes all those thoughts out. I could feel him. And then we're communicating, just spirit to spirit. That's the way you don't talk with your mouth. You just think a thought, and they answer it immediately. It's just instant. And I was asking, where am I? What is this? Where am I at for sure? This is heaven, he told me. And I said, well, what happened? And he said, he told me, he said, you were in an accident, car accident. And, he said, I'm not sure at which point. He said this at different times, twice at least. But he was letting me know that, Satan tried to interrupt your life and stop it. And that's why you're here. And we're going to, talk about your life. And it was like I've heard of the people having a life review, but this wasn't exactly, I don't recall, because many things are still being revealed. Amazingly as that is, it's amazing how things still come. More understanding, or, I'd almost forgot about this part or something. Things that still come to me. But he was looking at me. I was feeling so much love, and I knew his eyes, the way he was looking at me, his eyes are almost like laser beams, but yet pools of love, just such beauty and kindness in his eyes. But yet he was looking at me like in the spirit, and I knew he was scanning my life from birth to death. So he was just looking at my whole life. And then he's just talking to me. We're just conversing back and forth, and I don't remember yet still all of the conversation, but I do know, and I believe that the Lord has shown me that it's as if all this is in a time capsule, and much of it will still be revealed when I'm able to hear it, when it's time, because this is the way it's kind of come about over these years. Anyway, and of course I'm just letting him know I do not want to leave. I want to stay.